Hello, welcome back to my channel. So as you can tell by the title, you already know this is Shockings of India. Just dive right in because we do not need to get crazy into it. All you need to know is I was backpacking there for 3 weeks. Disclaimer, these are not meaning in a bad way. I did like India. If any of these come off bad, they're not. They're just things that surprised me about India. Right now I'm in Nepal at a hostel filming this, and I'm like, I kind of want to make this video quick because someone could walk into this common room at any point. But I have a long list, so I know this video is not going to be very quick. First things first, the cold coffee tastes like chocolate milk. Cold coffee is exactly how it sounds, it's just cold coffee. Most pointless thing I think I've ever said. But sometimes they even put ice cream in it. It's like an affogato, but they don't call it that all the time. Sometimes they just say cold coffee with ice cream, which is a must try. If you go to India, have the cold coffee with ice cream. But something I realized is until I got to northern India, most of the coffee that I had just tasted like chocolate milk. I say this one all the time, and I'm starting to think that maybe this is like an American thing to do and not the rest of the world. If you're walking on the side of the road, people barely get over for you. Like in America, like I've said in previous videos, if you're walking on the side of the road, it's a courtesy to like almost go in like the other lane or wait, or you know, just don't get close to the person that's walking next to the road. And in pretty much every place I've traveled, it's not been that way. Everyone knows this about India. India has crazy traffic. So pretty much anything goes and anywhere goes when it comes to driving. That means you'll find people like driving on the sidewalks. You'll see people just driving in freaking random spots that you're like, cars are not allowed this way. Motorbikes are probably not allowed this way. Nope, wrong. They are, because it's India. Oh my gosh, this one's a huge shocking. I've never experienced this before. If you get a bus in India, which was my main mode of transportation, public buses, 98% of the time, at least in my experiences, they don't stop at a bus stop. They will just stop somewhere along a random road, and that's where everyone meets up. So you'll just see like a pile of people just hanging out like next to the highway, or like just in random freaking spots, and it's because they're waiting for a bus, most likely. Also means, just like a tip for any backpackers or any travelers that may be going to India and wanting to take public transport, if you do take a bus, I recommend not booking it through Redbus. I will be the first and maybe the last person to tell you that, but in my experiences, it was just chaos trying to find the buses. I mean, I've never missed a bus abroad until I went to India. And I was like, oh my gosh, like the buses are not always in the spot that Google takes you to or in the spot that they say they're gonna be at. So you really gotta ask around and try to find those buses. So if you just show up to like a bus station, or, cause there is bus stations. If you show up to like a bus station and you say, hey, I wanna go to this place, there'll be people that'll find you a way to get there. And you could just pay for a ticket before you get on the bus. And if I could do it all over again, I have no regrets because they make for good stories. But if I were to go back to India, I would not book any buses in advance. I would just show up and look for buses. Sleeper buses are the way to go, also 75% of the time. The sleeper bus I got, I loved. I slept like a baby on that thing. It's literally like they have like a bed for you like to lay down on in the bus, and it's amazing. If you are going to northern India, expect a bumpy ride. Expect to barely sleep. I do recommend sleeper buses. It's an affordable way to get around, and it's also sometimes very nice. In my opinion, the food wasn't as spicy as everyone hyped it up to be, but that could be because they saw as a little blonde white girl and they were like, we're gonna take it easy on you. I also did fair warn any of like the servers beforehand. Like if they asked me if I like spicy, I always told them just a little bit. There's a show or something where they go just a little. Oh, it's How I Met Your Mother, when Lily's pregnant and her doctor's like just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Practically me with the spices in India. Yeah, I did not think that India had that spicy of food, but I did not go to South India. I was told that the higher you go, the less spicy it gets, and that's exactly what I did. I went to northern India and I did the Golden Triangle. So I did not do any of South India. I did not go to Goa or any places like that. So don't come at me. 98, actually I would reckon 99.9% of the time, if you use a bathroom, it will not be very nice. There was only one bathroom in all of India that I was like, ooh, this is a decent bathroom. At least in my experiences, of course, don't come at me, but bathrooms tended to be pretty disgusting in India. Most do not provide toilet paper. Toilet paper is almost like a luxury in India, just like it is in a lot of Asia. So if you're going to India, invest in some toilet paper and just carry it on you somehow 24/7. Just like carry a backpack and just put it in your backpack and you'll be all set. This was something I was also very surprised about. Buses, not if you're necessarily getting on like a chicken bus sort of bus, if you know what I mean. If you book like a sleeper bus and you miss it or you're running late or anything like that, if you just give the bus driver a call, they will wait for you. Or sometimes, in my case, they've turned around for me before. That's something that was just like, I could not believe it. The first time it happened, I don't remember where we were going, but I was with 2 other travelers and we were all running super late to this bus. And the bus waited there for a half an hour. And another time, I was solo and I missed my bus. And they actually turned around after driving for a half an hour. They turned back around, drove that half an hour again, picked me up, and then continued on. So we were late because of me. So don't take advantage of this. Of course, both of those incidents were accidents. We did not mean to be late. We were not trying to be those type of travelers. Just things happen or we couldn't find the bus. But if you are in an unfortunate circumstance like that, then sometimes it will be in your advantage where if you give them a call and you let them know what's going on, they will sometimes wait for you or even turn around. This is like another thing I was shocked by. I think this was also in the Sri Lanka video, but you need an exit ticket in order to enter India. If you try to enter India, like I did, without an exit ticket, thinking, oh, well, I'm not gonna be here past the 30 days, but I don't know exactly when I wanna depart. You can't do that. You need proof of some sort of departure. So this happened to me when I was getting my boarding pass for India, and they wouldn't let me get my boarding pass until I showed proof of a departure. So just a heads up, make sure that you have one, because now I'm in Nepal, and that was not on the agenda. Delhi Airport was the first ever airport I went to. Also, I went to some airport in the south also. I cannot remember the name of it. In my experience of India airports, based on just those 2, they do not provide free Wi-Fi. That's something that I was very shocked by because airports are known for having free Wi-Fi. And in a way, they do provide it, but you need an Indian mobile number. And I'm kind of crazy. I'm a crazy traveler. I do not get service when I travel. Do not give me crap for that. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not. But that kind of made it a bit of a pain. They do have a machine that prints like a coupon code for you to get onto the Wi-Fi. But when I was at that first airport in the south, I had to get on a worker's hotspot in order to show proof of my visa when I arrived. And if he wouldn't have given me his hotspot, I genuinely don't know what I would have done. India is the cheapest country I've ever been to, and I mean that in the sense of my US dollar has gone quite far in India. My last week in India, I was in a more secluded spot and I ended up spending $3 a night on accommodation. Most meals are roughly $3. That is US dollars. On an average day in India, I spent roughly $15 for the whole day. Single file lines do not exist in India. Oh, and also people can cut in front of you and it's like normal for them just to like cut in front of you and like, you know, do their thing. Single file lines, I realized this when I first got to India. This was one of my first shockings. I'm surprised this is not further up on the list. First got to India, I realized like when we were boarding the plane, there was not like a good single file line. Instead, it was like this giant huddle of people. And I was just like, what's happening? Hey!
What are you doing?
I'm filming a video.
A YouTube video?
Yeah.
Are you creating any content today?
Yeah, I'm just talking, I talk about like travel stuff. And so I was just talking about like cultural differences from India, because I just came from India.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about this game? Do you know?
Monopoly!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's like the money game.
Have you played this before?
Of course, yeah.
Rock.
Yes.
yet. See you.
Oh, I see you.
Bye.
Bye. See, I told you that was gonna happen. India is very diverse when it comes to climate. I actually got sick and I want to blame the constant climate change because I went from Delhi, which was roughly 100 degrees. I'm doing Fahrenheit. And if you do Rajasthan area, that area is roughly 110 degrees a day. Or it is right now I was there in May, so. But then if you go to the north, it's more like 50 degrees a day. So that's when I got sick, and I genuinely think I got sick because of the change. If you look different in any sort of way, if you look like you're not from India, you will be treated like a celebrity. I mean this in the sense that people will bombard you for photos, and when I was in Jaipur, my friend and I got asked, I'm not even kidding, for minimum 100 photos in one day. Not every area is bad. Like when I went to the north, I think I got asked like twice for a photo in my whole 10 days in the north. But if you're in more of the touristy spots, other travelers that are from India just think like it's super cool to see someone that looks different, and they will ask for your photo. We even had a guy in Delhi that we caught taking a video of us just like walking around. Some families will even hand you their babies, even if they're crying. In Jaipur, when I was with my friend Philippia, we were literally getting handed babies left and right, and they did not want us. We are strangers. These babies were crying. But those parents really wanted a photo of their baby with us. Some of the trains, I noticed this in Delhi, have a ladies' side only. So only ladies can be on one side of the train. And it's a little humorous because one side of the train will be super crowded with like mixed people, you know, like women and men, all that jazz. And the other side is just females, and there's so much room. And we even caught like a few guys going to like the female side just because it's, you know, less chaotic. India is the smelliest country I've ever been to, and that is meant in a good and bad way. Smells fluctuate by the second, especially when you're in cities like Varanasi. Hello! There's also an insane amount of stray animals, everything from dogs to cows to monkeys. Insane amount. And of course, like, India is known for rabies, so you shouldn't go up and just pet these stray animals when you see them. In cities like Delhi, the air is very, very polluted. So I don't know if you'll really realize it, but when I was in Delhi, like my first day, I like at the end of the day, I felt like almost like tiny little dirt particles on my face, and I was like, ugh. Chaotic traffic, you feel like you're gonna die every time you have to cross. That's kind of what I said earlier. Also, stoplights are more of a recommendation than like a law. I think I said the same thing about Sri Lanka, but like stoplights are very much a recommendation. You'll see like a lot of people still go when the light is red. People will haggle you like crazy, so be prepared to say no anywhere from 3 to 15 times. Especially when you're in the touristy cities, places like Agra, Varanasi, Jaipur. Jaipur, the businessmen are top notch. Be warned, like we went into a fabric shop and all three of us had no ambition to go in and buy anything. We were just going for a quick little tour to see how the fabric was made, and we all had no intention that we were gonna buy anything. Somehow, some way, all three of us spent like an hour there, and we all walked out with something because of the businessmen. They'll literally, like, you'll walk into the shop and they'll welcome you, they'll treat you like family, they'll give you chai, they'll show you how everything's handmade, and it's like, how can you say no to that? Now I have a little pillowcase that I have no idea what to do with. You should always pay either half or less than half of the starting price of any good. So if they're asking 1,000 rupees, really you should be paying like 500 or even maybe 300. Especially the more you look like a tourist, the more that price should be going down. And negotiating is such a huge thing in India that it's not necessarily rude to negotiate. If someone asks you know, they're trying to sell you something for 800 rupees, and it's not rude if you're like, hey, can I actually give you 300? And like, they might look at you and be like, no, but it's pretty normal to negotiate. And in fact, if you just take the starting price, that's pretty shocking. And that's something, especially since like India is so much cheaper than like places like the US, that's something that you really gotta keep in the back of your head is, even though it may seem like a good deal, you gotta think like almost like a local. Like, are you being scammed even though it seems like a good deal? I think I've said this about Sri Lanka. I don't remember if I did or not, but the drinks, when you're at a restaurant, the drinks come out with the food, not before the food. I think they only ever came out before the food like once or twice in India. Always go up to pay. If you just sit at the table, you'll be sitting there all day waiting for a receipt. You gotta go up to the counter to pay. Waiters will sometimes give you a menu and then they'll just kind of like stand around, like almost like impatiently and like wait for you to order. So just be fair warned. Always tell them like, hey, we're gonna need a few minutes to decide, because sometimes, especially if the restaurant's not busy and you guys are like the only people in there, that is something to consider, is just give them a little heads up, like we're gonna be a few minutes. If you really want to play it safe with not getting food poisoning, I went all of India and I did not get food poisoning, so I'm gonna knock on wood for the rest of my the rest of my Asia travels. But if you want to play it safe with the food poisoning, then I recommend not eating the street food and not eating at any place that seems too sketchy. I recommend, if they have places to sit down and Wi-Fi, those are two really good signs that you're probably not gonna get food poisoning. Also, avoid the like water. If they just bring you like water that's not bottled to the table, avoid that like the Black Plague. The one time I thought that I might get food poisoning when I was in India was I had a tea that was at a hostel and I had a few sips of it, and right away I could tell it was made with the tap water, just the way it tasted. And I was really hoping and praying that night that I would not have food poisoning the next morning. Luckily I didn't, but just avoid the water that's tap and avoid any sort of street food that has like meat or vegetables just laying out, and you should be pretty safe. Of course, the nicer the restaurant, the less chance you'll probably have at getting food poisoning, but do not shy away from local spots. We still ate out at like these tiniest little family-owned spots, and we were totally safe. So as long as they really have like an area to sit, I'd say you're decently okay. Put all of your electronics into like one bag. It will simplify your process so much. Someone told me this before I went to India, and I didn't think anything of it when I got to like the airport. Like I don't know why I did not listen to them, but I just crammed everything into my bag, and I ended up regretting that so much because I got stopped in security. Like, not even kidding, my bag had to go through probably 5 times. It got to the point where like the people around me were laughing. They were like, oh my gosh, her bag's going through again. Because I crammed everything into my carry-on and I didn't have it organized in any way. So as soon as we think we got all the cords out, there would be like one tiny little cord at the bottom that we didn't see. So when I was flying from Delhi to Nepal, I made sure that I had all my electronics in one spot. I put them all in my GoPro case, and I just took that out, took my laptop out, and I was good to go. So if you just make sure you got all your cords, they're very picky about cords. Any sort of cords, headphones, phone, anything that is electronic, make sure you have it out, or else you will get stuck in security. Also, this is not on the list, but I just remembered this. There is security right before you get on the plane. So you go through like security to find your gate, but also I noticed in one of the airports I was at that you had to go through like a mini security before you could board the plane. If you are a college student, bring your student ID so you can get discounts on a lot of things in India, which is really cool. Pretty much everywhere you go will ask you to have smaller change. So if there's like a way that you could make sure you have smaller change on you and not just big bills, a lot of people will really appreciate that in India. ATMs can be hard to come by in certain spots, especially like trying to find them on Google Maps is almost like a little treasure hunt. So just make sure you have like a good amount of cash on you at all times, because there was a few situations where it was a good thing I was traveling with friends, or because they had to cover me for like a few days because we couldn't find ATMs. Honking is huge in India. Like, I've had previous videos where you could hear the background of the honking in India, and it's chaotic. It's never stopping, especially when you go to cities like Delhi. It's so annoying. When you go to the north, there's still like a good amount of honking. It's not as anywhere as bad, but you'll still have it. Something I realized that was like a big cultural difference, at least from the US to India, is people are very touchy in India. Especially like the guys, not necessarily with girls, but like the guys almost have like what I would say as an American, like a bromance. Like they're very touchy with their friends, and it's very cool, and it's really awesome that they can like express themselves that way. When you go to cities like Varanasi, like the really religious cities, I even think I saw this in Rishikesh, children's eyes will have these black like almost like paint around them. Never knew what it was when I saw it, but I asked a friend that I made, and it turns out it's to have no bad spirits get a hold of the children. This is something that I did not experience, but I heard about it from a couple people. Apparently people will go on trains and put quote unquote like curses on you. They'll go up to you and like if you don't give them money, then they do something to your head where it's supposed to be a curse. Do not have 3 to a moped or a motorbike or anything like that. I did this a couple times in India just because it was convenient, but one time it was not okay. We were on a bridge and I was with 2 other guys, and there's 3 of us on this motorbike, and we actually did get stopped by the police and they did get a ticket. So do not have 3 to a moped. Half of the time servers do not write down your order, they just memorize it. That can result in like things getting messed up, but really most of the time they're really well. Oh, they're all out of power. Power cuts, that's another thing with India. India's police carry bats. And that was the first time I think I've ever seen that. But I was talking to some friends that I was traveling with, and they were from the UK. And they said, I was like, isn't it crazy that India's police carries bats? Like, it's kind of scary. And they were like, well, that's way better than guns. And then I thought for a second, I'm like, valid. I realized in India is a lot of the times, people had no idea what I was talking about if I just said like, where's the bathroom? So if you call it a washroom, you're set. All of the shops sell the same stuff. You'll realize, like when I first got to Delhi, I realized this right away. I was like, you would think that there would be like a competitive edge, that everyone would be trying to make their products, you know, different in some sort of way to market themselves, but it's more, it's not really like that. Like they all sell the exact same stuff. Oh my gosh, this one is big. Do yourself a favor and make sure you have your rabies shot. I did not get my rabies shot. Also get hepatitis A and B. I did have those. But the whole time I was in India, I was kind of on edge about like potentially getting bit by an animal, because there's so many animals in India. And they'll come really close to you. Like at one point I had a monkey like pretty much on my head or on my shoulder, and I was just like, well, if he bites me, this could be it. Also, I got a shot a few years ago when I was thinking about going to Peru, but then COVID happened, so you know, I wasn't able to. I don't remember what it was called, but it was a shot for unsanitary food. So if someone cooks you food and they're not being sanitary, it prevents you from getting sick. So if you could find out what that is and get it, I think that would be genius for India, because that's a huge thing and a huge reason why people do get food poisoning. And that could potentially be why I didn't get food poisoning in India, is because of that shot, but I don't know. Pack medicine for immune health. I put this on there after I got sick in India. I've only ever been sick while traveling twice, if we count that time. And that was when it really hit me that I was like, if I could like go back home and pack something, I would pack like daily vitamins that are for immune health. Like even now I'm like, I gotta go invest in some of those, because that would be genius. If you're a female watching this and you book a female only dorm, that does not necessarily mean it will be only females in there. The streets are really, really dirty. And especially since there's animals that just walk around. I mean, you have cows and monkeys and dogs and cats, there'll just be like feces on the ground that you just have to constantly be avoiding. Cafes open a lot later than what I'm used to. The cafes in India mostly opened anywhere from 8 to 11 a.m. Cold coffee will cost you a lot more than hot coffee. So cold coffee is roughly 150 to 200 rupees, and hot coffee is going to be anywhere from 30 to 100 rupees. Another thing is people will pile in cars, and I genuinely think it's legal in India because I saw it done so many times and no one did anything about it. Especially when they're getting off like a bus and they have to go to like their next spot, people just all like pile in a car, and you'll just see like there's one car that passed me that I think there was 10 people in a car that sat 5. Cafes are also a culture in India, especially if you go to the north, places like Rishikesh and Manali. Also, food does not always come out together. Sometimes, like, there was one restaurant I was at, where was this? It was in Kasol. I was in this restaurant with some friends, and everyone's sitting at the table, their food came out at a different time, and it was really funny because I've never experienced that. But street dogs are pretty crazy. I would stay away from them. They get in these like big fights and you'll hear them like hollering, especially in the north. I realized a lot of the mountain dogs got in some fights. They're a lot nicer than like the street dogs in like Delhi, but I'd still beware. Power cuts happen often. That's on this list. Bucket showers. This is something I actually did not know about until the end of my trip. I saw a lot of buckets in the showers and I never really knew what they were used for. I genuinely thought that they were just used to keep from flooding in the bathroom. But it turns out in India it's like a big thing for people just to fill up the bucket and then rinse it on their head like that. India also made me obsessed with Nutella. That's on here. India has a thing for Kit Kats. They have a lot of Kit Kats. And they even have like Kit Kat milkshakes. Last thing I have on here is actually like the saddest. Because the poverty rate is so high in India, a lot of the kids aren't able to eat, and so they actually have people that give them drugs so that way their appetite goes away for a few days. They can maintain in that time without feeling hungry. And that was something that really saddened me. It was super sad to find that one out, but I figured that I should put that on the list because that was perhaps the biggest culture shock of them all. So the only other thing I have on here is some of the bathrooms are different in the sense that they you have to like squat over this like hole in the ground pretty much. But that's all I got on India culture shocks. That's perhaps, if I had to guess, I think India has definitely had the most culture shocks that I've ever experienced, definitely. But yeah, we got through the list. And now I'm gonna go play Monopoly with those random guys that walked in. If you guys did enjoy this video, if you did, make sure to give a big thumbs up and leave a smile. And I'll see you guys next time. See you guys with a brand new video.